What's up guys, Shane here back with Erin Herle, and today Erin's going to be talking about securing side control after passing, and this is a concept that you refer to as save document.
Yes, so let me paint the picture. So have you ever been writing an essay or an article or anything like that, and you're really into it and you've gotten all this genius out of your head, and then your computer crashes and you lose everything because you did not save the document. It's like, it's world ending, okay? So what we do when we pass guard, right, we've done all this work to pass the guard, and then there's a thing called securing side control. So when you compete, sometimes they give you points for passing the guard, and then some will actually give you points for just being in side control, all right? So now we pass, we're happy, yes, because then we have the opportunity to write our beautiful work and save document. In this case, it would be Command S, okay, Command S. So, or Control S, whichever one you're on. So anyways, after you pass, right, we want to be able to save our work. And that's the most important thing. Because if you pass, it's cool and all, but if the person recovers, all your work has gone to shit. Okay, so if I want to show a pass, right, I might show boom, 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 I get through, right? So some people think that, okay, as long as I get through the legs and I get past, it's great. But what if I commit too much and he gets an underhook and he comes to his knees, right? Then it creates a different solution. Now, if you ever watch some of the MMA fights, some people think that action means that it's amazing, that the person's so good, right? This is a great fight. But really, it just means that no one can stabilize a position. So while you're seeing various scrambles, that literally just means that a person is not good at maintaining a position. So while it is exciting, it's not actually very technical, right? And the skill set is not very high. So a good match and a good jiu-jitsu player will be able to control a situation, which might not be so spectacular, but if you know how to control, then you can ground and pound. Then you can go for the position and the submission. We always say, get the position before the submission. So I'm not going to dive for something that might not be there and might put me in a compromising situation. So I'm always going to think ahead, right? So because I go for my knee slice, right, I'm thinking about it, that I need the underhook, right? So I'm going to start with my hand on the hip. That's one way to stay safe. So as I come down, I'm going to use my arm deep into the underhook. And as I pass, okay, now I know that I've secured myself, but I'm not out of the water, okay? See how his leg is right under. So if he just oopas a little bit and puts his leg under me, boom. That's a sure way for him to start the recovery. If he gets this under and extends, and I still have my arm here, boom, straight arm bar, omoplata, a lot of things can happen, right? So instead, I would probably bring my arm back, but then I'd have to go back and I'd have to work the pass again, right? So that's a lot of work, especially if you've tried really, really hard, right? Just so you're writing that essay, all your genius is on there, and you want to save that work, all right? So what I'm going to think about is as soon as I go to pass, right, I'm going to use back that thing up. That's one of the techniques that I use to save the document, okay? So I'm actually going to use my kickstand, like I've explained before. The kickstand is something that I use to prop myself up. If I'm here and he decides to move and hip out, I'm not going to be able to follow, especially, like I said, if my arm is extended, it puts me in danger, right? So I'm going to prop myself up, okay? So as I pass, I don't want to do one of these like the judo player does, you know, like where they stay here, because judo ends, right? And for us, it doesn't end here. It never ends with a guard pass. It's still going. We've got to submit the person. So as I pass, I bring my heel under my butt. The kickstand is letting me put my pressure on him. And if he goes to hip out, right, I'm going to follow. I'm going to be able to follow, okay? So now, in order to save this part of the document, and I've gotten past the hips, but I want to make it even more safe, okay? So I'm going to back that thing up. I'm going to scoop and scoop and scoop, right? So I can get in between his hips, his hips in between my elbow and my hip, okay? And now, try to move. It's a little bit more difficult. Wherever you go, I go, right? I'm staying sticky, that's what I like to say. Now from here, I can go for crossface, right? I'm going to use my elbow ditch. Okay, that's how I know how far to go. Even in gi, no gi, it works both ways. I'm gonna go as far as my elbow, right, will go. Now I'm gonna grab under, I'm gonna pull him in. Now I've secured that, right? I'm saving this part of that document. Now I'm gonna switch my hips completely. As I switch my hips, I'm constantly thinking about the hip, because he's gonna be trying to put his knees in all the time, okay? But now, since I have this part, right, so I went from being on this side, changing, to this side, but I'm always having that kickstand to keep me propped up so I can always follow. Think about a sprinter, right? They have your toes. You're pushing forward. I'm always ready to move, okay? Because you have to understand that someone who's good at jiu-jitsu is not just going to simply accept the pass and go, good job, man, you got it, you got it. here, take me as I am. They're gonna be like, oh hell no, I'm gonna try to get out, right? So from here, I'm gonna switch my hips, okay? Now, this is a key one too. This is how I'm gonna block the hip, okay? So I have this, my knee is here, so even if he's trying to get in, he can't, right? Especially if he tries to get the underhook, right? Now, even if this is there, all I need to do is place my hands on the mat, okay? But remember, I wanna go as deep as the elbow ditch. So I want my elbow, the inside of my elbow, to touch his hip. Now, as he tries to hit out and get his knee in, he can't get past my arm. Try to hip out more. And I can follow. And I'm not making a grip. I'm not situating myself in a particular way. I'm simply blocking that hip so he can't recover. And I'm also making sure that his shoulders are flat by doing a tabletop. Okay? So a tabletop for me is something where I actually go pretty low, okay? I'm not trying to dig in any specific way. I'm not pushing them forward. I'm actually bringing them back, because when someone is on their back, it makes it very difficult for them to move. If I'm here, I can't hip escape, right? I have to turn to my side to hip escape, right? If I want to hip escape and use the elbow, if I want to get to my knees, all the different ways you would either escape or recover guard require you to be on your side. So by the tabletop, that pressure, I'm able to keep you flat.
You're flat, keeping them flat. Kind of
Yeah,
like even
exactly.
pressure.
Yes, so I'm not trying to push you any certain way. So the idea is that we need to make sure that we are securing side control, that we are actually stabilizing so that the person doesn't recover. Now, when you get into the higher levels, I can create a situation where I know that you're going to react a certain way, and then I can react, right? That's always like levels to this. But for someone who is just learning how to pass, you need to know that once you get through, there's more work to be done. Imagine when you started punching someone, you have to be prepared for them to come right back. And they might just come back with the exact same thing you did or something else, but you have to know they're going to counter, and that's the big deal. So it's kind of weathering that storm, and most people would say, why do you do all this extra stuff, right? Well, you, okay, being a white belt, right, I probably wouldn't have to use all of these techniques versus someone who's a brown belt or a black belt or a professional in MMA that they have their own understanding. And so I need to be able to have a technique that's going to work on everybody. Right? Why would I learn something that's for like lower belts and then have to learn something new later on, right? So that's kind of my idea of teaching, is when I'm able to show someone something that I know is going to work and that it doesn't require any new skill set at all. It just requires you to think that this requires work. The work's not done. I can't admire my work. I have to keep going.
Save the document. Save all your hard work. Just control asset all day.
So I hope that you guys can take this concept and put it into your game. All I need you to do is remember that once you pass the hips, we need to secure the hips, because everything happens in jiu-jitsu from that point, right? So if I can put my arm all the way to the hip to the elbow ditch, that's good. Cross face, same thing. Going all the way to the elbow ditch, I know that I have a secure setting to be able to secure and stabilize, right? And maintain. We don't want to have to work backwards. So save your documents, save them to the point that you know that there's no returning, and that whichever you do with your opponent, they can't come back and destroy you.
Technology is fickle. Computers always crash.
Don't
Cool.
let your brain crash.
There you go. All right, guys, check out Erin Herle's Instagram. Links in the description below. She's got a huge following, and you guys can be a part of that and get all the great content that she shares. I'm a fan. And subscribe to get the fight tips before your opponent does. Another great subscribe right there. You follow that channel, you get some good content.
Oh yeah, good commit. You gotta commit.
All right, but until then, I'm Shane.
Erin.
Fight tips for the underdog.